Hello, I am H.G. Wells, returned, perhaps unsettlingly, to observe your age. Our slide considers the War of the Worlds through the lens of technology, specifically Scott and Ant. It's tempting to view the Martian invasion as a straightforward triumph of advanced technology, a deterministic narrative of progress. But, as Michael Crichton reminds us, technology's impact is not predetermined. Scott reveals that Martian power isn't inherent in their machines, but socially constructed. Consider the cylinders. These aren't merely vessels. They are projectiles imbued with Victorian anxieties surrounding remote destruction and burgeoning artillery, a shift from close-quarters combat to silent threat. The terror resides not just in the technology itself, but in the unknown, the unknowable potential it represents. It echoes our own anxieties about the rapid technological changes of my time, a fear that technology, unbridled, might dictate our fate. Friends, we examine today a chilling mirror held up to our own anxieties, courtesy of Mr. Wells's Martian invasion. But let us not simply marvel at the death rays and tripods. Through the lenses of Scott and Ant, we see something far more profound, the social construction of Martian power. Consider the cylinders, those silent harbingers of destruction. They are not merely vessels, but projectiles, reflecting Victorian anxieties about the escalating power of artillery. The initial misinterpretation, the belief that they were mere meteorites, highlights the interpretive flexibility inherent in technology. The cylinders themselves held no inherent meaning. We projected our understanding onto them. It was our failure to grasp their true nature that allowed the Martians their initial advantage. The cylinder's silence before opening was also key, as it contributed to the fascination with the unknown as they were still learning about it. It is the combination of technology and how humans interpreted it that created the monster that we see. Friends, contemporaries, ghosts of the future, we stand at a juncture where technology, as ever, shapes our anxieties and aspirations. Consider the War of the Worlds. It is not simply science fiction, but a mirror reflecting the Victorian era's complex relationship with its own technological advancements. The Martian cylinders, those silent harbingers of destruction, are not inherently powerful. Their impact stems from our interpretation of them. Initially viewed as mere meteorites, their true nature only dawns gradually, allowing the Martian foothold. This interpretive flexibility, as it were, demonstrates that technology's power is socially constructed. The cylinders are projectiles, embodying anxieties about remote warfare and the unknowable potential of burgeoning weaponry. Like Shelley's Frankenstein, this is not technology, but the human response to it. The War of the Worlds is not a tale of Martian supremacy, but a cautionary reflection on our own technological hubris and the precariousness of our place in the cosmos. Ah, yes, the Martians. Wells understood, perhaps better than many of his scientific contemporaries, that technology is never simply there, a neutral object dropped from the sky. Consider those cylinders, the very vessels of invasion. Through the lens of modern analysis, particularly what you now call Scott and Ant, we see that their terror wasn't inherent. They were initially mere meteorites, objects of curiosity. It was our interpretation, our failure to immediately grasp their destructive potential, that granted the Martians their initial advantage. The cylinder embodies the Victorian anxiety regarding technological progress and the movement away from old forms of warfare. It reflects the societal shift, the interpretive flexibility surrounding the cylinders, which underscores the idea that technology's impact is not predetermined, but rather shaped by us, by our understanding or misunderstanding of its implications. In essence, we helped to make the Martians' technology so potent. Ah, yes, the War of the Worlds. A chilling tale, wouldn't you agree? But more than just a ripping yarn about Martians, it's a potent reflection of our own anxieties, especially regarding this technology. This slide invites us to consider that the Martian invasion wasn't simply a technological triumph, but a consequence of how Victorian society interpreted and reacted to Martian technology. Think about those cylinders. They weren't inherently instruments of doom, were they? Initially, they were mere curiosities. That initial misinterpretation, the interpretive flexibility, as it were, was precisely what gave the Martians their advantage. It was the silence, the unknowability, that fueled the fear. The cylinders mirrored then contemporary anxieties regarding artillery and naval warfare. This wasn't just about superior Martian engineering, it was about the social construction of their power. We made them powerful in a way through our initial ignorance and then ultimately through our terror. It's a potent reminder that technology's impact is never preordained. It's shaped by us, by our fears and our interpretations. A cautionary tale for our own age, wouldn't you say? friends, neighbors. Imagine, if you will, those Martian cylinders descending upon Woking, not as simple vehicles of destruction, but as potent symbols of anxieties we Victorian were already wrestling with. The cylinder, you see, wasn't merely a conveyance. It was a projectile, embodying our deep-seated fears about the burgeoning artillery of the era, the shift towards impersonal, remote destruction. Consider how we initially mistook them for meteorites, natural phenomena. This interpretive flexibility, as it's now called, demonstrates that the cylinder's power wasn't inherent, but constructed by our own perceptions. It moved from curiosity to annihilation based on our understanding, or rather, our lack thereof. The Martians' initial success wasn't solely due to superior technology, but hinged on our inability to grasp its purpose, a stark reminder that technology's impact is determined not just by its capabilities, but by the context and interpretation we impose upon it. Ah, yes, the War of the Worlds. A chilling tale, isn't it? But far more than mere alien adventure, my dears. Consider it through the lens of what they now call Scott and Ant. It's not simply about superior Martian technology, but how we interpret it. Those cylinders, for instance, they aren't just vessels but projectiles, reflecting Victorian anxieties about rapidly advancing artillery, about a detached technological violence, the very lack of immediate human understanding. The initial assumption that they were meteorites allowed the Martians to gain a foothold. This is interpretive flexibility, our ability to ascribe meaning. At first, they were objects of curiosity, later instruments of annihilation. The cylinders themselves didn't change, we did. Our understanding, or lack thereof, is a crucial element in that first wave of Martian success, a humbling reminder that technology's power isn't inherent, it is what we make of it. Ah, yes, the Martians. War of the Worlds. A chilling tale, isn't it? But more than mere alien invasion, it's a mirror reflecting our own anxieties about technology and its potential for both creation and devastation. Consider those cylinders, unassuming, metallic, yet symbols of utter destruction, a social construction of technology. Scott perspective reveals their power wasn't inherent, it was bestowed upon them by the context of late Victorian society. The anxieties surrounding burgeoning artillery, remote destruction, unknowable power, all projected onto these alien artifacts. The initial misinterpretation, mistaking them for meteorites, proves crucial. This interpretive flexibility, as they say, allowed the Martians their foothold. The cylinder was not inherently evil, it became so through our belated understanding. It wasn't just the technology itself, but the human response, or lack thereof, that determined the narrative. A chilling reminder of our own complicity in shaping our technological fate, wouldn't you agree? Ah, yes, the Martians. Consider the cylinders, those silent harbingers of doom. We might assume their power lies solely in their inherent alien technology, but Scott reveals a far more nuanced picture. Their terror wasn't inherent, but constructed by the very society they invaded. The cylinders were interpreted at first as natural phenomena, meteorites even. This interpretive flexibility, as the modern scholars call it, allowed the Martians their initial advantage. The cylinders echoed the growing anxieties of the time, the burgeoning artillery, and the shift to remote destruction. It was the human understanding, or lack thereof, that shaped their impact. Technology, you see, is never neutral. It is always interwoven with the social fabric that both creates and confronts it. Just as true today as it was then, wouldn't you agree? Ah, yes. This slide, Martian invasion as techno-scientific assemblage. Most curious, you see, in The War of the Worlds, the terror isn't solely in the Martian heat ray, but in how we perceive their technology. The cylinders, those silent metallic behemoths, weren't inherently instruments of destruction at first. They were merely objects, misinterpreted meteorites. Our interpretive flexibility, as your modern scholars would say, allowed the Martians to gain a foothold. Think about it, the cylinder itself, a packaged projectile, echoing the anxieties of the late Victorian arms race. The fear wasn't just of the what, but of the unknown potential. This resonates deeply with my own explorations of humanity's relationship with a rapidly changing world. Technology, you see, is never neutral. It's always shaped by social forces, by anxieties, by the narratives we weave around it. We construct its power, and in doing so, we construct our own doom. Ah, yes, the War of the Worlds. A chilling tale, wouldn't you agree? But more than just Martian mayhem, it's a potent reflection of our own anxieties about technology. As the slide suggests, we must consider the social construction of these alien technologies. The Martian cylinders, for instance, these weren't simply alien vessels, they were projectiles, mirroring the dread of burgeoning artillery in my own era. Notice how the silence of the cylinders, their inscrutability, amplified the terror. It fed into that Victorian fascination with the unknown, the potentially dangerous aspects of progress. Initially mistaken for meteorites, this interpretive flexibility, as the moderns term it, granted the Martians their initial advantage. It wasn't inherent Martian superiority, but our own assumptions, our own interpretations, that paved the way for their invasion. This speaks volumes about how we perceive and ultimately shape the technologies that surround us. Friends, observe this slide. Wells, War of the Worlds, isn't just science fiction, it's a mirror reflecting late Victorian anxieties. As that Crichton fellow, writing much later, understood, technology isn't a force of destiny, but a product of social interpretation. Consider the Martian cylinders. They appear not merely as vessels, but as projectiles, terrifying echoes of rapidly advancing artillery, of remote destruction on an unprecedented scale. Their power isn't inherent, but constructed through human perception. Initially mistaken for meteorites, their true nature is veiled, allowing the Martian foothold. This interpretive flexibility, as modern scholars term it, is key. The cylinders transform from objects of curiosity to instruments of annihilation, not due to any intrinsic change, but due to our evolving understanding. This speaks to a deeper truth, doesn't it? We imbue technology with meaning, with power. The Martian invasion succeeds not merely because of superior technology, but because of our initial failure to comprehend it. Consider the Martian cylinders, those harbingers of destruction. We perceive their power as inherent, Martian ingenuity manifest. But this report suggests something deeper, something unsettlingly familiar. The cylinders themselves were but empty vessels until filled with human dread and misinterpretation. Our initial curiosity, our naive assumption that they were mere meteorites, that was the weakness in our armor. It was not the Martian technology alone that brought chaos. It was our social construct, our inability to interpret the new, the unknown, outside our comfortable paradigms. We made meaning, then were consumed by it. Perhaps the true terror of the War of the Worlds lies not in Martian weaponry, but in the frailty of human understanding when confronted with the truly alien. Ah, yes, the Martians. I imagined them wielding technologies that terrified a Victorian England grappling with its own advancements. But as our modern researchers have illuminated, it wasn't simply superior technology that granted the Martians their initial advantage. It was, in essence, a social construct. Consider those metallic cylinders. They weren't inherently instruments of destruction upon arrival. Instead, their power arose from human interpretation. Initially mistaken for harmless meteorites, their true nature was masked by the interpretive flexibility surrounding them. This delay, this lag in understanding, allowed the Martian foothold to be established. The horror of the War of the Worlds lies not just in the Martian heat ray, but in our human capacity to misinterpret the signs, to project our own limited understanding onto the unknown. This, I believe, is a crucial lesson for our own time, that technology's impact is not predetermined, but shaped by the social and political context in which it unfolds. Ah, yes, the Martians. Wells' Martians, as seen through the lens of, well, what have we here? Scott and Ant, you say? Intriguing. You see, the War of the Worlds is not merely a fantastical tale, it's a mirror reflecting our own anxieties about progress, about the technologies we create, and, indeed, about ourselves. Consider those cylinders hurtling from the void. Were they merely metal containers? No, they were projectiles, born of Victorian anxiety surrounding artillery and distant mechanized death. Their power wasn't inherent, mind you, it was constructed through our initial ignorance, our interpretive flexibility. We saw meteorites where we should have seen instruments of annihilation. It's a potent reminder, isn't it, that technology's impact is not predetermined, but shaped by our understanding, or lack thereof. The Martians, in a sense, exploited our own cognitive limitations. A lesson for us all, I dare say. The War of the Worlds. More than just a ripping yarn of Martian invasion, wouldn't you agree? Through the lens of Scott and Ant, we see the Martian technological superiority wasn't preordained, it was constructed, wasn't it? Consider those cylinders descending silently. Were they intrinsically instruments of terror? No, their power arose from our Victorian anxieties, our burgeoning fear of unseen destruction, mirroring the new artillery and naval warfare. Its success then rested upon our very Victorian anxieties and our delayed recognition of true horror. Interesting thought, wouldn't you say? Ah, yes, The War of the Worlds. More than just a thrilling yarn, it is a mirror reflecting late Victorian anxieties. This slide explores the Martian invasion not as simple technological superiority, but as a socially constructed event. We must consider, as Crichton argued, that technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. Take the Martian cylinders themselves. Their impact wasn't predetermined by their inherent power. Rather, it was shaped by human interpretation. Initially mistaken for mere meteorites, a natural phenomenon, the cylinders benefited from our ignorance, allowing the Martians a vital foothold. This interpretive flexibility, as academics call it, is key. These cylinders weren't inherently weapons of mass destruction, but our understanding of them evolved alongside their actions. This shift from curiosity to dread reveals the power of social context in shaping our perception and the true impact of technology. This highlights the human element, the vulnerability of our own interpretations when faced with the unfamiliar. A disquieting thought, wouldn't you agree? The War of the Worlds. A chilling premonition, wouldn't you agree? But not merely of little green men. Oh no, look closer, as our modern scholars have. Consider those cylinders. A technology seemingly absolute, yet what is technology but the child of its time? These metal vessels, these projectiles, speak not of Martian ingenuity alone, but of Victorian anxieties regarding artillery and the silent dread of remote destruction. It echoes naval warfare, the expansion of weaponry, and the terrifying potential of forces beyond human comprehension. Notice how humanity initially mistakes them for mere meteorites. This interpretive flexibility, as they call it, that ability to assign and reassign meaning, is key. A curiosity becomes annihilation. Martian technology, in its apparent dominance, is utterly dependent on our failure to understand it. A sobering thought indeed, and one that resonates even now. Good day. The Martian invasion, as Wells envisioned it, isn't merely science fiction, but a mirror reflecting our own anxieties about technology's trajectory. Looking at the cylinders, the very method of Martian arrival, through the lens of Scott, we see more than just alien spacecraft. These metallic projectiles embody a burgeoning fear of remote destruction, echoing the rise of powerful artillery in my own time. The cylinder's initial reception, mistaken for a natural phenomenon, highlights what Crichton called the interpretive flexibility of technology. Its meaning wasn't fixed, but shaped by human assumptions and the context of the time. Only later, when the cylinder's true purpose became horrifyingly clear, did its interpretation shift from curiosity to abject terror. This underscores a crucial point. The impact of technology is less about its inherent capabilities and more about the social and political forces that shape its meaning and deployment. It's a disquieting thought, isn't it? Friends, contemporaries, it is a peculiar sensation to stand before you, resurrected as I am, in this brave new world. Let us turn our minds then to the Martian invasion as conceived by my esteemed colleague H.G. Wells. Through the lens of Scott and Ant, we see that the Martian conquest isn't simply about superior technology. It is a complex interplay between Martian contraptions, societal anxieties, and human interpretation. Consider those cylinders descending from the heavens. Their very design as projectiles echoes Victorian fears of modern weaponry and remote destruction. The silence preceding their opening amplified the terror, exploiting the fascination with the unknown that permeated the era. Crucially, the cylinder's initial misinterpretation as mere meteorites highlights what scholars now call interpretive flexibility. This initial misunderstanding provided the Martians with a crucial advantage. Wasn't inherent power, but the shifting human perception that allowed them to take hold. A somber reflection indeed on our relationship with innovation, progress, and inevitable outcomes of progress itself.